First Contact's Price. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the ESS Hawking, Earth's most advanced deep space research vessel, watching as the unknown ship approached. Its crystalline structure caught the light of the distant stars, creating an ethereal pattern that no human engineer would have conceived. After 15 years of pushing into the depths of space, humanity had finally made first contact. She just wished it had been under better circumstances. Status report. Captain Rivera's voice crackled through the ship's comm system. The bridge crew's responses came in rapid succession, each more concerning than the last. Multiple hull breaches in sections 4 through 7. Life support at 60% and falling. 2 more ships just dropped out of FTL behind us. Sarah's fingers tightened on the railing. The Hawking was a research vessel, not a warship. Their first encounter with alien life had gone from peaceful observation to desperate survival in a matter of minutes. The crystalline ship had appeared without warning, ignored all attempts at communication, and opened fire. Dr. Chen, Captain Rivera's voice cut through her thoughts. I need your analysis. You're our expert on tactical history. What are we dealing with? Sarah's mind raced through centuries of naval warfare studies. They're hurting us, she replied, watching as the new arrivals took up flanking positions. Classic pincer movement. They're not trying to destroy us. They want to capture the ship. The captain's response was cut short by a new alert. Another ship had appeared, but this one was different. Its organic curves contrasted sharply with the angular geometry of their attackers. Without warning, it opened fire on the crystalline ships, its weapons cutting through their seemingly impervious hulls with surgical precision. New contact on comms. The communications officer announced. They're broadcasting in English. This is Commander Zera of the Meridian Alliance vessel Starcolor. A melodious voice filled the bridge. Human vessel, you have encountered the Shadowclaw Empire. They are not known for leaving survivors. Please accept our assistance. Sarah watched as the Starcolor executed a perfect defensive maneuver, one that reminded her of ancient Greek triremes protecting merchant vessels. These aliens understood tactical warfare in a way their attackers didn't. The battle was over in minutes. The Shadowclaw ships retreated, their crystalline structures scared by the Starcolor's weapons. As emergency crews worked to stabilize the Hawking systems, Sarah found herself in the ship's conference room with Captain Rivera and their unexpected savior. Commander Zera was humanoid, but that's where the similarities ended. Her iridescent skin seemed to shift colors with her movements, and her eyes held an ancient wisdom that made Sarah's decades of historical study feel like moments. We have been monitoring your species' expansion into space, Zera explained. We had hoped to make contact under more peaceful circumstances, but the Shadowclaw Empire's appearance forced our hand. You speak our language, Sarah observed. You've been studying us. Zera's skin rippled with what might have been amusement. Yes, Dr. Chen. Your species fascinates us. Most civilizations we encounter either destroy themselves before reaching the stars or evolve past warfare entirely. Humanity is unique. Captain Rivera leaned forward. Unique how? You understand warfare, Zera replied, her eyes fixed on Sarah. Not just the technology or the violence, but the underlying principles, the strategy, the psychology. In all our travels, we've never encountered a species that has developed such a sophisticated understanding of combat while maintaining their drive for peace and exploration. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. The Shadowclaw Empire, they're not just random raiders, are they? No, Zera's color darkened. They are the greatest threat our galaxy has faced in 10,000 years. They possess superior technology and overwhelming numbers. But they lack something we've observed in abundance in your species: adaptability. The ability to learn from the past, to evolve tactics and strategy. That's why you've been watching us, Sarah realized. You need our knowledge. The Meridian Alliance consists of 300 species across 12,000 star systems, Zera explained. We have maintained peace for millennia, but peace has come at a price, We have forgotten the art of warfare. The Shadowclaw Empire is systematically destroying everything we've built, and our technological superiority means nothing against an enemy we don't know how to fight. Captain Rivera exchanged glances with Sarah. You're saying that humanity's history of warfare, all our conflicts, our military theories, our tactical doctrines, might be the key to saving your civilization. Not just our civilization, Zara corrected. Yours as well. The Shadowclaw Empire now knows of your existence. They will return, and they will not show mercy. But perhaps together, we can change the course of this war. Sarah thought of the libraries of military history waiting back on Earth. Sun Tzu's Art of War, Clausewitz's On War, thousands of years of human military thought, strategy, and evolution. Knowledge that might now serve a purpose its authors could never have imagined. Captain, she said, turning to Rivera, I believe humanity just became part of something much bigger than first contact. As the Hawking limped toward the nearest Meridian Alliance outpost for repairs, Sarah began composing her report to Earth's governments. How do you explain to humanity that their long history of warfare might be the galaxy's greatest hope for peace? The irony wasn't lost on her, but then again, history was full of ironies. The stars streaked past the observation window, each one potentially hiding more Shadowclaw ships. But for the first time since the attack, Sarah felt something close to hope. Humanity had spent millennia learning the art of war. Now they would have the chance to use that knowledge to forge peace among the stars. The knowledge brokers. The Meridian Alliance's central archives towered over the capital city of Lumeria Prime, its crystalline spires reaching toward the twin suns overhead. Dr. Sarah Chen walked through its hallways alongside Ambassador Marcus Wong, their footsteps echoing off walls that had recorded the knowledge of hundreds of civilizations for thousands of years. They're ready for us, Marcus whispered, straightening his diplomatic uniform. Try not to look too impressed. Sarah nodded, though containing her awe was proving difficult. After 3 months of preparation and negotiation, humanity's delegation was finally meeting with the Alliance's High Council. The chamber they entered was vast, with representatives from dozens of species arranged in concentric circles around a central platform. High Counselor Ven, a being of pure energy contained within an environmental suit, spoke first. Dr. Chen, we have reviewed your preliminary reports on human military history. Some find your species' continuous evolution of warfare disturbing. With respect, High Counselor, Sarah stepped forward, activating the holographic display she had prepared. What you find disturbing might save billions of lives. The display showed a timeline of human military development, from ancient spears to modern space vessels. While other species focused solely on technological advancement, humanity learned something far more valuable: the fundamental principles of strategy and adaptation. A murmur ran through the chamber as she began overlaying historical battles with recent Shadowclaw attacks. Look at the Battle of Cannae. She highlighted the ancient Roman defeat, Hannibal's double envelopment tactic. Now compare it to the Shadowclaw assault on Proxima Colony last week. The similarities were striking. The Shadowclaw ships had used nearly identical maneuvers, but with one crucial difference. They don't understand why these tactics work, Sarah explained. They're copying without comprehending. That's their weakness. A reptilian counselor leaned forward. You speak of ancient ground battles. Space combat is entirely different. Is it? Sarah challenged. The principles remain the same. Position, momentum, psychology. The medium changes, but the fundamentals don't. She shifted the display to show submarine warfare tactics from Earth's oceans. Your ships already fight in three-dimensional space. We've been practicing that kind of warfare for centuries, just underwater. The display changed again, showing the defeat of the Spanish Armada. Superior technology doesn't guarantee victory. The English fleet was outgunned but used weather conditions and superior maneuverability to triumph. Now, replace ocean currents with solar winds, and you have a strategy for space combat. Ambassador Wong stepped forward. The Shadowclaw Empire believes they're invincible because they've never faced an enemy that truly understands warfare. Humanity doesn't just understand it. We've spent thousands of years perfecting it. And yet, High Counselor Ven observed, your species still pursues peace. How do you reconcile these contradictions? Sarah smiled. Because understanding war teaches you the true value of peace. We don't glorify conflict. We study it to prevent it. When prevention fails, we study it to end it quickly and decisively. The chamber erupted in discussion as Sarah and Marcus waited. Finally, High Counselor Ven raised a hand for silence. What exactly are you proposing, Dr. Chen? An exchange of knowledge, she replied. We teach your forces everything we know about military strategy and tactical adaptation. You teach us about space combat technology. Together, we develop new doctrines that combine the best of both. And in return, Earth joins the Alliance as a full member, with all the protections that entails. The Shadowclaw Empire knows about us now. We need allies as much as you need our expertise. The council chambers fell silent as the members communicated through their neural networks. Sarah held her breath, knowing humanity's future among the stars hung in the balance. There is precedent, a crystalline being chimed in. The Arcturus Protocol allows for accelerated membership in times of crisis. High Counselor Ven's energy form pulsed thoughtfully. We have spent millennia preserving peace through technological superiority. Now we must learn to preserve it through understanding conflict. The irony is not lost on us. The vote, when it came, was nearly unanimous. As Sarah and Marcus left the chamber, they found Commander Zero waiting for them. Congratulations, she said, her skin shifting to colors Sarah had learned indicated pleasure. Though I suspect the hard part is just beginning. Sarah nodded, thinking of the task ahead. Humanity would need to teach the art of war to beings who had known only peace for thousands of years. We'll need to establish training programs, develop new tactical doctrines, create simulation systems. Already in progress, Marcus interrupted, showing her his datapad. The Alliance is converting one of their largest military installations into a joint training facility. They're calling it the War College. How appropriately human, Zara observed. As they walked through the archives, Sarah's mind was already racing with possibilities. The Alliance had technology humanity had only dreamed of, but they would contribute something equally valuable. The accumulated wisdom of countless generals, admirals, and strategists throughout human history. The Shadowclaw Empire won't expect this, she said quietly. They think they're facing the same predictable tactics they've always encountered. Instead, they're about to face something entirely new, an enemy that knows warfare better than they do. The twin suns of Lumeria Prime were setting as they reached their quarters, casting long shadows through the crystal spires. Somewhere out there, the Shadowclaw Empire was planning their next conquest, unaware that the balance of power was about to shift. Humanity had arrived among the stars not as conquerors or victims, but as teachers of an art they had spent millennia perfecting. The art of war itself. Operation Legacy. Admiral James Chen watched the holographic display with intense concentration as the Allied fleet executed their maneuvers. The massive training space above Europa Station had become humanity's first contribution to the Meridian Alliance's military renaissance. Hundreds of ships, both human and alien, moved in perfect synchronization, performing battle formations that would have been familiar to any Earth naval commander. Your species' naval doctrine translates remarkably well to space combat, Fleet Commander Lisoria observed, her crystalline form refracting light as she moved. Though I must admit, some of our crews are still struggling with the concept of improvisation. James nodded, understanding the challenge. The Alliance species had spent millennia perfecting technological solutions to every problem. The idea of adapting tactics on the fly, of making split-second decisions based on battlefield conditions, was foreign to them. "Show me Delta Squadron again," he requested, zooming in on a group of ships practicing submarine warfare tactics adapted for stellar combat. The vessels dove and weaved through artificial gravity wells, using them as ocean currents to mask their movements. It wasn't perfect yet, but it was progress. Alert status. The command center's AI announced suddenly. Multiple Shadowclaw signatures detected in the Arcturus sector. 3 colony worlds under simultaneous attack. James exchanged looks with Lazara. This wasn't a drill anymore. How long until the closest response fleet can engage? 6 hours at maximum FTL, Lazara replied, her crystalline structure dimming with concern. By then it will be too late, James finished. He studied the tactical display, remembering lessons from humanity's past. Unless, Commander, what if we tried something they'd never expect? The plan came together quickly. Instead of waiting for reinforcements to arrive, the training fleet would engage immediately. 300 ships, crewed by beings still learning human combat doctrine, would face an enemy that had never lost a major battle. This is Admiral Chen to all ships, James broadcast across the fleet channels. The Shadowclaw Empire believes they know everything about space combat. Today, we prove them wrong. Execute battle plan Thermopylae. The fleet jumped to FTL, emerging near the Arcturus sector in a formation that would have been familiar to ancient Greek warriors. The Shadowclaw forces, arranged in their typical aggressive attack pattern, hesitated at the unexpected sight. All ships, commence Phase 1, James ordered. The fleet split apart in a maneuver inspired by the Battle of Trafalgar, breaking the enemy line in multiple places. Alliance vessels, guided by human tactical doctrine, struck with precision and withdrew before the Shadowclaw ships could effectively respond. They're adapting their formation, Lazara reported, watching as the enemy tried to counter the unexpected tactics. But they're slow, predictable, just as you said they would be. James allowed himself a small smile. They're fighting the last war, Commander. We're fighting the next one. Begin Phase 2. The battle that followed would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for centuries to come. Human submarine tactics allowed Alliance ships to dive through gravitational eddies, emerging where the enemy least expected. Formations from ancient cavalry battles translated perfectly to 3-dimensional space, with ships performing complex maneuvers that confused and divided the enemy fleet. Admiral, Lazara's voice held a note of awe. The Shadowclaw forces are retreating. All 3 colonies. We've saved them all. The victory was more than just a tactical success. It was proof that the combination of human military wisdom and Alliance technology could change the course of the war. As the fleet regrouped, damage reports began coming in. The losses were minimal, far less than anyone had expected. Send word to Alliance Command, James ordered. Operation Legacy is no longer a training exercise. It's now our primary strategic doctrine. In the days that followed, the news spread across Alliance space. The undefeated Shadowclaw Empire had finally tasted defeat, and at the hands of a training fleet no less. More importantly, the Alliance species were beginning to understand the true value of human military knowledge. We're receiving requests from every Alliance world, Lazara reported during their post-battle briefing. They all want human military advisors, tactical training, historical analysis. James studied the star map, watching as reports of successful defenses against Shadowclaw incursions began appearing across Alliance space. Send them everything. Every battle in human history, every strategy we've developed, every lesson we've learned. The time for secrecy is over. The Shadowclaw Empire won't take this defeat lightly, Lazara warned. They'll analyze our tactics, try to counter them. Let them try, James replied, remembering countless hours studying military history with his sister Sarah. That's the beauty of human military doctrine. By the time they figure out how to counter these tactics, we'll have already developed new ones. As the twin suns set over Europa Station, James received a message from Earth. The United Nations Security Council, in an unprecedented unanimous vote, had approved the full integration of Earth's military forces into the Alliance command structure. Humanity's knowledge, bought with blood and sacrifice over thousands of years, would now serve to protect civilization across the stars. Admiral Lizara interrupted his thoughts. The first graduating class of the War College awaits your inspection. James straightened his uniform and headed for the ceremony hall. In the end, humanity's greatest contribution to galactic civilization wasn't their technology or their resources. It was the hard-won wisdom of countless generations who had studied the art of war in hopes of preserving peace. The Shadowclaw Empire had awakened something they couldn't possibly have expected. A galaxy ready to learn from humanity's long history of conflict. And that knowledge would prove to be the most powerful weapon of all. The turning point. The war room aboard the Alliance flagship Stellar Dawn hummed with activity as Dr. Sarah Chen studied the massive strategic display. Thousands of points of light represented Alliance and Shadowclaw forces across the galaxy, their movements telling a story of a war in transition. After 6 months of implementing human military doctrine, the tide was finally turning. The Shadowclaw Empire has withdrawn from 3 more sectors. Admiral Kenna reported, her energy form flickering with satisfaction. Their latest tactics show they're trying to adapt to our methods, but they're always one step behind. Sarah nodded, watching as Alliance forces executed a complex series of movements that would have made Alexander the Great proud. They're learning, but too slowly. They spent centuries relying on technological superiority and brute force. They can't match our rate of tactical evolution. The strategic display shifted to show their latest victory at the Battle of Proxima Centauri. Alliance ships had used principles from ancient Chinese military strategist Sun Tzu, appearing weak where they were strong and strong where they were weak. The Shadowclaw fleet, falling for the deception, had walked right into a trap. Director Chen, a young lieutenant, interrupted. We're receiving priority communication from the front lines. The Shadowclaw Empire has launched Operation Shattered Stars. The room fell silent as data streamed in. The enemy had committed 70% of their total fleet strength to a massive offensive aimed at the heart of Alliance space. It was the moment they had been preparing for. They're desperate, Sarah observed, studying the enemy formation. They know they're losing their technological edge as we share our advancements with the Alliance. This is their attempt to end the war in one decisive strike. Admiral Kenna's energy form pulsed with concern. Even with our new tactics, we can't match those numbers. They're throwing everything they have at us. Sarah smiled, recognizing the pattern from countless battles in human history. They're making the same mistake Napoleon made in his Russian campaign. They've committed too much to a single thrust, leaving their supply lines exposed. The next few hours were a flurry of activity as Sarah and her team coordinated with Admiral James Chen's fleet. Alliance forces began executing a strategy inspired by the ancient Mongol armies, appearing to retreat in the face of the massive Shadowclaw advance, while actually drawing them deeper into prepared killing zones. All units, commence Operation Scorched Space. James' voice echoed through the command center. Alliance ships began implementing tactics developed from Earth's scorched Earth strategies, destroying navigational beacons and creating artificial gravitational disturbances that would trap the pursuing Shadowclaw fleet. They're taking the bait, Sarah reported, watching as the enemy pressed their apparent advantage. They think they're winning because we're giving ground. They don't understand that we're choosing the battlefield. The trap was sprung at the Antares Crossroads, a region where several major hyperspace lanes intersected. The Shadowclaw fleet, stretched thin by their aggressive advance, found themselves surrounded by Alliance forces emerging from carefully prepared positions. Now they faced the same choice as Hannibal after Cannae. Sarah murmured. A tactical victory becomes a strategic defeat because they've committed too many resources to a single battle. The battle that followed was the largest space engagement in galactic history. Alliance ships, applying centuries of human military wisdom, struck at the enemy's weakest points. Formations adapted from ancient cavalry tactics allowed them to encircle and isolate enemy squadrons. Strategies from submarine warfare helped them exploit the complex gravitational topography of the battlefield. Their command and control structure is breaking down, Admiral Kenner reported. They've never faced defeat on this scale. They don't know how to adapt. Sarah watched as the mighty Shadowclaw fleet began to fragment. This is why we study military history, not just to learn what worked, but to understand why it worked and how to adapt those principles to new situations. As reports of victory began flooding in, Sarah received an urgent message from the Alliance Council. The Shadowclaw Empire had sent an unexpected communication. They wanted to discuss terms for an armistice. They're finally learning, Sarah observed, but too late to help them in this war. They're beginning to understand that true military strength isn't about having the biggest fleet or the most advanced weapons. It's about understanding the fundamental principles of strategy and being able to adapt them to any situation. The aftermath of the Battle of Antares Crossroads would reshape the galaxy. The Shadowclaw Empire, its fleet shattered and its confidence broken, was forced to accept terms that would have been unthinkable months earlier. More importantly, the Alliance species had learned valuable lessons about the nature of warfare and peace. We've received a request from the Alliance Council, Admiral Kenner announced. They want to establish a permanent strategic studies institute, combining human military history with Alliance technology and alien perspectives. Sarah looked out at the stars, thinking about how far they had come. Humanity had arrived in the galactic community as newcomers, but their ancient wisdom had proven more valuable than any advanced technology. They had taught the Alliance not just how to fight, but how to understand conflict itself. The war's ending, Sarah said quietly, but our real work is just beginning. Now we have to teach them the most important lesson from human history, how to maintain peace through understanding and preparation rather than ignorance. The Strategic Studies Institute would become humanity's greatest legacy to the galaxy, a place where the hard-won wisdom of Earth's military history would be preserved and expanded upon. The Shadowclaw Empire had sought to conquer through force, but they had instead become an object lesson in the limitations of power without understanding. Evolution of War and Peace. 5 years after the Battle of Antares Crossroads, the Galactic Strategic Studies Institute stood as humanity's greatest contribution to interstellar civilization. Dr. Sarah Chen walked through its grand halls, now filled with representatives from thousands of species, including former enemies. The institute had become more than just a military academy. It was a center for understanding conflict, peace, and everything in between. The latest class is graduating today, Admiral James Chen said, joining his sister as they watched ships from across the galaxy arrive for the ceremony, including our first students from the former Shadowclaw Empire. Sarah nodded, remembering how controversial that decision had been. They've proven to be some of our best pupils. There's something poetic about that. The Institute's main chamber could hold representatives from over 1,000 species, and today it was filled to capacity. The ceremony was more than just a graduation. It marked the 5th anniversary of the Galactic Concordat, the peace agreement that had reshaped interstellar relations. High Counselor Ven's energy form illuminated the podium as the ceremony began. 5 years ago, humanity taught us that understanding warfare was the key to preserving peace. Today, we take another step in that journey. Sarah watched with pride as the graduates received their certifications. Each had spent years studying not just military strategy, but the complex interplay between conflict and peace that humanity had grappled with for millennia. "We have a situation," a young lieutenant interrupted, approaching with a datapad. "Long-range sensors have detected an unknown fleet entering the galaxy. No match in our databases." The news spread quickly through the chamber. An unknown force, potentially hostile, testing the boundaries of known space. Once, such news would have caused panic. Now, it was met with calm preparation. "The response fleet is already assembling," James reported, studying the tactical display. "But they're not just preparing for combat. We're sending diplomatic vessels as well." Sarah smiled, seeing humanity's influence in that decision. The first principle we taught them: understanding your potential opponent is as important as being ready to fight them. The response fleet that assembled demonstrated how far the galaxy had come. Ships from former enemy nations flew together, their crews trained in both warfare and diplomacy. They had learned from humanity that strength came not just from the ability to fight, but from the wisdom to know when not to. "The unknown fleet has responded to our hails," the lieutenant announced. "They're requesting permission to send observers to the Institute. They say they've heard of our achievements in combining military wisdom with peaceful cooperation." The chamber erupted in pleased murmurs. The Institute's reputation had spread beyond the galaxy's borders, attracting species seeking to understand this new philosophy of balanced strength. "This is your legacy," High Counselor Venn said, approaching Sarah and James. "You taught us that true strength lies not in having the most powerful weapons, but in understanding how and when to use them." Sarah watched as the tactical display showed the first diplomatic shuttles departing to meet the unknown fleet. "We taught you what humanity learned through thousands of years of warfare, that understanding conflict is the surest path to preserving peace." The Institute had evolved far beyond its original purpose as a war college. It now housed the largest library of military and diplomatic knowledge in known space. Species that had once solved problems only through technology now studied human history alongside advanced physics. The art of war had become the art of peace. The Shadowclaw Empire thought they were invincible because they had the most advanced technology, James reflected. "We showed the galaxy that wisdom and understanding are more powerful than any weapon." As the ceremony concluded, Sarah made her way to her office in the Institute's Historical Archives section. The walls were lined with records from Earth's military history, now studied alongside tactical documents from 1,000 alien civilizations. The combination had created something entirely new, a comprehensive understanding of conflict and peace that transcended species and cultures. Director Chen, her AI assistant, announced, "The new diplomatic protocols you developed are showing a 97% success rate in preventing armed conflict across the galaxy." Sarah nodded, unsurprised. The protocols combine military deterrence with diplomatic engagement, a balance humanity had spent centuries trying to perfect. Now, with the combined wisdom of thousands of species, they were finally getting it right. The sun set over the Institute's spires, casting long shadows across the training grounds where beings from across the galaxy learned not just how to fight, but why and when to avoid fighting. Humanity had arrived in the galactic community bringing the wisdom of warfare, but their greatest achievement had been teaching the galaxy how to maintain peace. "We've come full circle," Sarah said to James as they watched the unknown fleet's diplomatic shuttles approach. "Humanity's understanding of war has become the foundation for lasting peace." The Institute's motto, displayed in every known language, summed it up perfectly. Understanding conflict, preserving peace. It was humanity's gift to the galaxy. The wisdom earned through thousands of years of warfare, now serving to prevent wars rather than fight them. As night fell, the stars seemed to shine brighter over the Institute, each one representing a civilization that had learned perhaps the most important lesson humanity had to teach, that the truest victory comes not from winning wars, but from having the wisdom to prevent them.